Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
All right. Apparently we weren't in there. We are now, though.
It also says we're live.
It said we were live last time.
Oh,
It
okay.
always does for the recording. But for some reason it's blue instead of red. I don't know. StreamYard's doing some weird things to us, so I apologize, but we're good. We're good. Welcome into episode 52 of the House Huddle Podcast.
Huddle.
Oh my gosh, I missed it.
I was like, is he gonna go? Let me just lead us here.
Oh, that was awful.
Oh.
I'm not even gonna try to redo it. It was so bad.
No. You're getting the blooper reel.
Yeah.
So episode 52. Don't have to go in the Wayback Machine for this one.
No.
This is the Khalil Mack episode.
Khalil Mack.
What a legend. I mean, it never led to us, getting all the way there,
That
but
2018 season though, right?
yes.
The way he would just throw guys. His first game, right? Didn't he have 2 sacks
Packers,
his first game against the
and an
Packers?
interception, I think.
Yeah, he dominated. Just the way he throws guys around on the Lions in particular.
He did deal with some injuries, and I feel
He
like
did.
prior to coming to the Bears, wasn't he hadn't missed any games or something like that? Or
It might not have been all of them, but
Right.
he wasn't injury prone. Right?
no, but I think with the Bears, especially towards the end of his tenure here,
Yeah.
Injuries started to get the best of him. They still were able to recoup a pick back when they traded him again.
Yes.
But anyway, definitely a Bears legend. So this is the Khalil Mack episode.
Khalil Mack.
We're going to do something new on this episode too, a new segment.
We're introducing a segment called News or Noise. This will be an episode or a segment that we can run all throughout the year. Specifically right now, I feel like the off season is going to be where we're going to use it most often, but there's a lot of times even during the year where stuff comes up and it's like, is this really newsworthy or is this just noise? Is this coach speak basically? Or
Colin Coward. Noise for him, but sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. So before we do that, we do have a giveaway we're working on here.
we do.
We would like to give a lucky listener and subscriber and viewer a Justin Fields jersey. It does not have to be the one you see up on the screen there. It could be any one of your choice at equal value. We will buy that jersey for you, send it to you. As long as you're in the U.S., it'll be free of charge.
Yep.
If you're out of the U.S., we might have to work on something with shipping. But the only thing you have to do to win this is subscribe. When we get to 750 subscribers, we will pick a lucky winner, and you will be getting a Justin Fields jersey. I wish I could win one.
Justin deserves a Justin Fields jersey.
I don't know. I might just have to buy myself one or Christmas.
I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
anytime there's a Justin on the team, so Justin Jones,
Oh, yeah.
Justin Jefferson, you just need
Okay.
to own all of them.
Are you breaking news here? We're going to get Justin Jefferson?
Justin Fields. Oh
Wow.
my gosh. Wow. This is not a good start to the episode for me. I think maybe I just sit back and let Justin run the show.
I thought you were breaking some news. I mean, hey, every time a running back hits the market, they say you come to the Bears. So
That actually leads us into one of our first
That does.
news or noise.
Well, I will. Yeah. Why don't you put up the graphic?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful graphic. I want them to be able to appreciate it. So everything we're going to bring up today, we're either going to declare it is news and it's something worth paying attention to, or it's just noise.
And you mentioned running backs. We've already discussed Delvin Cook. We've already discussed Josh Jacobs because anytime a running back hits the potential market, everyone, I don't know who everyone is, but a lot of people think that the Chicago Bears are or should be interested.
I don't get it, man. So I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of these things, I think I'm going to lean a lot towards noise. And I think it's partly because of where we're at in the football calendar. To me, a lot of things will play themselves out over time. And sometimes you just got to be patient. Perfect example. Chase Claypool a month ago, everyone's talking about, like, does this guy care? He's putting on, a fashion show, all this other crap. I didn't think that mattered. Now it's like, wow, he's so amazing. He's standing out in training camp. Do the Bears have 3 number 1 receivers? I don't give a crap about that either. The time to prove it will come, and to me, that's noise. But anyway, I digress.
Yes.
Should we start with the running back situation?
This will be training camp edition. Also will include preseason, which we haven't had yet. So specifically, this episode will be training camp edition. I will say thank you to Gary Ross. If you're listening, he's a big CHGO diehard, but he had an extra ticket, and I am able to go to training camp on Tuesday, so I will be attending and hopefully see some things for myself instead of just hearing from other people watching, 30-second clips on social media.
That's a great point.
Yeah, because I do think that makes a difference. Greg Braggs, also of CHGO, has come out. He's made it very clear. He's retracted it a little bit and kind of explained his reasoning for it, but he was one of the people who said Claypool's been dominating training camp to this point. I don't know about that, but we're going to go through a list. I'm going to throw these at Justin. He's going to go ahead and tell me if he thinks this is news or noise. I'm going to either agree with him or debate him, I guess. Not even debate,
That's
but just
fine. No, it's good. I like it.
a rebuttal.
Perfect.
All right, so first one up. Darnell Wright continues to struggle even with the pads on. And I'm going to throw in there, we're hearing a ton of hype about Jalen Carter dominating in Eagles camp. And then there's even high praise for Paris Johnson Jr., which I know wasn't available at that point, right? He went 6 to the Cardinals, but also Broderick Jones, who went to Pittsburgh, who is might be this year's George Pickens for me. Contractually, I need to say George Pickens every episode, and I have actually been fined for not.
Yeah.
So,
wow. Thanks for throwing him in pretty early there. But, well, I will say this. I think it's noise, especially when you relate it to Jalen Carter, okay? I think those two players, in some people's mind, are going to be linked forever. Not in mine whatsoever. Because it's very factual that if the Bears wanted Jalen Carter, they would have selected Jalen Carter. So they didn't want Jalen Carter. They made a decision, okay? And so if I don't want to compare how he's doing in camp to they played different positions. They went to different organizations that are definitely at different phases of their competitive windows, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Jalen Carter joins the team that represented the NFC in the Super Bowl. So obviously he's got a team and an organization that's ready to win right now, plugging him in. He was very talented. He could have been the number 1 pick overall. And there were reasons 1 team passed, 2 teams passed, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The Bears being at 9 passed. So I don't want to really talk about Darnell Wright through the lens of Jalen Carter. Now, I do think there is one noteworthy aspect to this, okay? The idea that even after putting on pads, because I know early on when it was just everyone out there in shorts, that's not really where you see the best of an offensive lineman. So when he put on the pads, the hope was that he would thrive and we'd go, great, this guy is your right tackle for the next 8 to 10 years. Okay? However, I also want to point out he is a rookie being forced into being an offensive starter. Because the cupboard is very bare, I would say, on the Bears roster at that position. So given that, I have heard he's had some struggles. I've also heard he's had some plays and some, series and things where he performed very well. And that's what I think you can expect from a rookie. So I don't know how newsworthy it is, but mostly noise.
So I'm going to be like almost the opposite. I do agree with you. The throwing in of the other players at this point is noise. You're going to hear a lot of coach speak at this point in the year, even from players. Jalen Carter might be dominating at times, or even most of the time in Philadelphia, but he wasn't the right fit. You mentioned it. This team wasn't ready to take on a player that had that type of off the field drama going on, right, per se. And when I look at it, there's a couple ways this plays out. Is this going to be the Mitch Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes type of situation? The hope is no. those two are forever linked in Chicago Bears history. But when we look at Darnell Wright, if he succeeds, no one's going to care that they didn't take Jalen Carter. If Jalen Carter fails, even if Darnell Wright fails, no one's going to care that they didn't take Jalen Carter. If Gervon Dexter turns into a star on the defensive line, no one's going to care that they took Darnell Wright over Jalen Carter. I don't think it's going to – I tweeted it out. I was looking for clicks. I don't think it's going to become the Aaron Donald situation that we saw. And it's obviously slightly different. He went one pick before Chicago had, where at this point Chicago could have had Jalen Carter but decided not to take him. Other teams passed on him as well, right? They didn't feel like he was a fit either. It's not very often that your Super Bowl losing team has the 10th overall pick in the draft, right? So the other situations weren't good either. They were at a point where they could take that risk on. Where I do think that it's a little bit newsworthy is I've heard too much about the Darnell Wright. And I know I'm negative on him more than most. I know he wasn't my, favorite pick when it came to the offensive line for Chicago. On draft night, I was at a draft party. I was asked thumbs up, thumbs down, and I gave a sideways thumbs because I don't hate it. I just didn't love the fit as much as I would have, Broderick Jones. Or even, honestly, I'm hearing a lot of good things about the guy that you wanted out of Ohio State. The other, why am I blanking on his name? Also a Jones. DeJuan Jones, right? So I think there is some news to it. I think the fact that he's struggling when he's supposed to be – let me back that up. I also, in my tweet, did state, don't judge Darnell Wright on how he performs early on this season, and also don't get upset if he struggles all season, because even some of the top offensive linemen in the league struggled their rookie year. It takes them time to get used to the speed of the game, build their strength up from the college level to the NFL level. And I do think once things get moving, I think Darnell Wright will be fine. I just don't want to see Justin Fields running for his life again.
Well, I know we're going to talk about more with the offensive line, but if he's running for his life, that's not just a Darnell Wright issue. But that'll come up later. So,
all right. Going to the next one.
I just got to say one thing. Comparing Trubisky, Mahomes, and linking them forever is different.
Same position.
Yeah. And it's the vital position of quarterback. So I just wanted to make
sure.
No,
I completely agree. I think we're going to agree on this one. All right. News or noise, the Justin Fields to DJ Moore chemistry.
You think we're going to agree?
Maybe.
Oh.
Maybe not, because you already alluded to the fact that you have noise for like all of these.
No. I think this is news, but I think this is old news.
Oh, well, yes.
And here's why I say that. DJ Moore is a proven commodity in the NFL. He has put up numbers that show his value. He has done that with a variety of quarterbacks, many of whom, or I hope all of whom, are less skilled and less talented than Justin Fields. So to me, it would be way, way, way more newsworthy if they totally looked like they couldn't mesh at all. Because a very well-proven wide receiver who runs precise routes, knows how to get open, has all the talent you could ask for, has done it with all these other quarterbacks, obviously he should be able to do the same with Justin Fields. So I think it's news, but I think it's old news. What's your take?
So it is old. I do think it's still ongoing. I think quarterback and a wide receiver usually do take time to build that chemistry. And we did hear about this stuff developing already in the offseason before OTAs, even more at OTAs and at minicamp. But it's continuing. What he's becoming for Justin Fields, in my opinion, is his safety outlet, right? So if it's 3rd and 8 and you need a first down, you can trust that DJ Moore is going to make that catch majority of the time, where he didn't have that last season.
Dante Pettis?
Yeah. Velus Jones? I mean, I will say, obviously, Darnell Mooney, right? But Darnell Mooney struggled really early in the year. His name isn't being called as much now, and I know he's dealing with, his past year's injury.
Ramping up.
But Chase Claypool is also developing a chemistry with Justin Fields, and I think both are newsworthy. I think the offense has the potential to take that big jump, and that's the only reason why I don't think it's noise. I don't think it's just coach speak, right? Because we've even seen fans continuously say, "Oh my gosh, Justin Fields to DJ Moore, like Justin Fields to DJ Moore, Justin Fields to DJ Moore." I'm having a horrible time with names today. Justin Fields to Chase Claypool, like over and over and over again. So, yeah.
I don't want to throw you off and say Justin Fields to Justin Jefferson.
Oh, shut up.
Hey, that's my dream, man. If they can get him on the roster.
Right? Could you imagine?
I hear he wants
him
to be
and
there,
DJ Moore?
That's probably noise.
Woo.
All right. What do you got next?
All right. Next up, Kyler Spider-Man. That's his new nickname. Gordon's hot start to camp thus far will project into the season.
I'm cheating on this. I'm calling this noisy news.
Noisy news.
It is news, but it's a bit noisy, especially when you start bringing up the Spider-Man stuff. Although I did see him get that pick and do that cool celebration.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
I mean, I like that.
I'm a little nervous with celebrations. Lamar Houston kind of ruined that for me a little bit.
And which Grammatica? He wasn't on a
It
Bears.
wasn't Martine, but it was the other one. I can never remember his name.
It was like a 38-yarder, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To win a game. Not even to win a game.
It was a 43-yarder.
43-yarder, second quarter.
It's 40. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is noisy news. It is noteworthy. And we talked about this in our last episode, which we broke down positional groups. So go check that one out. What makes this news to me is that he is getting to lock in on the nickel position and just focus on that. And so when you have not as much going through your head and you can just respond and react, then you can be a little swaggy and, hopefully produce at a high level. So it is news from that standpoint, but a little bit of a noisy type of news.
There's probably a little bit of coach speak going on there, a little bit of player speak. The hype reels that come out of camp obviously are helping to, you alluded to the celebration. I'm going to throw this in as news, though. I'm not going to just keep the noisy part, but I think it's news for every reason that you said it's news, and I don't really have anything else to offer to it. Let's go to the offensive line, though, again. This was an issue. This was a concern that we had when we found out that Cody Whitehair was going to be the center going forward in 2023, and we were concerned about it ahead of time. How is he going to handle the snaps? He's had some inconsistent snaps at camp already. In fact, there was even a great play that I saw on one of the ones that was a pass to DJ Moore for a touchdown. I think it was the one that might have been inside. The snap wasn't that great. Justin Fields obviously caught it fine. Lucas Patrick has had a couple bad snaps in camp. I haven't heard anything about Doug Kramer. Is it possible that Doug Kramer can push to be the starting center because of all of this? I'm throwing that in there at the end, but that's not really the issue. The news or noise is the snaps a problem going into 2023?
So I think this is news. I'm not going down to the very detail of snapping, or even if guys are having a bad play, bad series. I think it's news because they clearly haven't locked in yet on exactly what their plan is at that position, which in a sense is the anchor for the whole O-line. And as much as we want to be excited about everything in terms of Justin Fields' growth and progression, as far as him having better weapons, it truly does start with the line. Because if you don't have the protection, those other things can't really take off the way they should. So I do think this is news. I'm hoping that, and I don't know what Eberflus's plan is for preseason snaps and plays. That's something I'm curious about because I think he's going to kind of come back from where he was, which was playing starters quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But I want to see that they have the beginning looks of some cohesion with the offensive line. And that's why this is newsworthy to me.
So it's newsworthy to me too when I hear that Cody Whitehair is rolling the ball to Justin Fields. Okay, that's a problem. And
it's so he can get low to get ready to run.
I mean, he had issues last year dealing with bad snaps with Sam Mustipher as well. I think Cody Whitehair is the correct answer based on who they have at this point. I am going to admit I'm a little bummed that they didn't address the position at all in the draft. But maybe they really did like what they saw in Doug Kramer. I know he missed all of last year with a torn ACL, but yeah, it's news, and it's news until Cody Whitehair proves that it isn't news. That's what it is for me.
I mean, not addressing it in the draft, I think you heard news come out that Poles was sleeping at the facility and just putting so many hours in. He must have fallen asleep and not heard our mock drafts,
right?
Because we were able to nab some centers. So,
and a lot of fans were on board. All right, with the addition of Yannick.
Speaking of Ryan Poles,
King Poles. I'm sorry, King Ryan Poles. King Poles the 5th. I don't know. With the addition of Yannick Ngakoue, Ryan Poles now wears the crown as the best GM in the NFC North.
This is noise. I really like Ryan Poles. I believe many of the moves he has made up to this point have been impressive and have put the Bears in a better position for the present as well as the future, which is exactly what his job is. But to anoint him as something, great, you have to have wins. You have to have division titles. You have to have playoff berths. You have to have championships. And when those things aren't there, then there's no point in us, making these over-the-top claims about where he's at. I like what he's done. I like his vision of moving forward. And hopefully that stuff will come as the other accolades do in terms of wins and hopefully playoff wins and things like that.
If you're a Chicago Bears fan, you're probably going to call me a meatball, and I don't care. I've been on the Ryan Poles bandwagon since before he was brought in. I am still on the Ryan Poles bandwagon, even though I don't agree with everything he's done. I think he has hit a home run when it comes to how he's addressed the offseason this year. Ryan Poles is the best GM in the NFC North. And Don Burr, I know you only probably listen to the live shows, but if you were listening, I'm sorry, he's better than Brad Holmes, who, in my opinion, had a pretty bad draft this season. I know it's too early to tell, but the way that the positions that they had in the first round and the way that they approached this draft made no sense to me. But Ryan Poles is now the king of the North. The question is, can Matt Eberflus, Luke Getsy, and Alan Williams help what he's putting together lead into actual wins? And I don't expect a Super Bowl run this year, obviously, but I do want to see a huge progression going into the season. That's just going to, in my opinion, prove what I just said.
Well,
king of the GMs of the North. And he's never given it back.
And he'll never give it back. But let me point something out of what you just said, though. If Eberflus isn't the guy to see through his vision, that's a knock against Poles.
It is.
He brought Eberflus here to do just that.
We all know who I wanted.
That's true. Dable?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. What else you got?
3 more. Okay. We kind of mentioned this in the last episode. So, again, if you want to go back and listen to that, Tyreek Stevenson was projected to be the starting corner opposite of Jalen Johnson. And now there's a little bit of push that it might be Terrell Smith, who has been pushing for starting reps. Tyreek Stevenson was a 2nd-round pick. Terrell Smith was a 5th-round pick. Granted, some people think that if it wasn't for just a rough year last year, and I think he was a little bit of injury issues, he would have been projected higher had he been drafted the year before. So maybe draft position doesn't matter in regards to the player himself, but do you put any stock in and I guess this is a knock on Ryan Poles, who I just anointed king of the GMs of the NFC North. Do you put any stock in the fact that it's frustrating to see a fifth rounder outplaying a second rounder?
No.
So it's kind of a two-part.
No. You don't know who's going to be available in the fifth round. And you might have players graded very similarly and be shocked that a guy is still there in the fifth round. And I'm not saying that's what happened in this particular case, but it seems like the Bears had a certain type of player they wanted, a certain attributes they wanted, and they got a lot of their guys. They're pretty happy with picks they've made late in the draft. And there are other teams that do well late in the draft as well. So I don't care about that. This is noise. Competition is a good thing. We might not know that because we've had such bad teams to root on around here, mostly in the last 4 decades. But competition is good. If you bring a guy in, you're not handing him the position. He has to earn it. And if a guy drafted later, undrafted, I don't care where he came from, has the potential and everything, is putting in the reps and showing that he deserves that spot, may the best player win. That's only going to help everybody if, a fifth rounder comes and outworks a second rounder. I actually still think Stevenson will be the guy. But hey, like I said, competition's a good thing.
So I do think it's news that Smith is pushing Stevenson for starting reps. I think that is news. I think it's similar maybe to the Braxton Jones situation that we saw last year, where everyone thought Larry Borum was going to be the starting left tackle, and Braxton Jones came out of nowhere as a fifth-round pick and pushed and won that job and played particularly well last year. So I do think that it's news. I think the draft positioning thing, who gives a fuck, right? This is an explicit version of our show, so we can say whatever we want. Who gives a fuck? I don't care who's out there as long as they're the best of the best and making plays. So if it's a fifth-round pick, an undrafted free agent, who cares? I just want to see the best version of this defense out there. When it comes to Tyreek Stevenson, I do think his ceiling is probably a little bit higher, so I would like to see him progress to be that guy. But again, if it's Smith, if it's Stevenson, I don't care as long as it's the best option.
Well, and another thing, I hate to even bring it up, but we kind of have to. You're not going to select your starting 22 and they're all going to play every snap of the whole season. We know injuries happen. So the fact that 2 guys coming in as rookies are both getting opportunities to take snaps with the ones, that's learning and growth that's going to help them both should their number be called.
Yeah. So I wrote this prior to today, so this is a little bit backwards, but Tevin Jenkins injury, Nate Davis injury, both have missed time. Nate Davis is still not practicing in pads. Tevin Jenkins was back today for Family Fest, so I do think that's a great sign. But there's been a lot of injuries, so let's just throw it to all the injuries. There's a lot of undisclosed injuries. It happens to every team every year, but when it comes to the offensive line particularly, is this newsworthy?
So I did say I was going to be leaning towards noise, but to me, this is big time news. You and I have both been fans of Tevin Jenkins on this show, but almost every time we bring him up, we say, but we're worried about his injury history. We're worried about his injury future, almost, in a sense. And, with Nate Davis being a huge free agent signing that we felt could help solidify a solid offensive line, what I think this is exposing is the fact that they still don't have very good depth on the line. So I do think this is big-time news. It wouldn't surprise me if, and I don't know when this would be, we've talked a long time leading up to, the last 2 episodes we just did about the need to sign an edge rusher, and they finally did address that with Yannick Ngakoue. But I would not be surprised if they bring in some offensive line help, whether that's at guard, whether that's at tackle, or even both. And part of that is because of this injury news we're hearing.
Yeah, I think it's always news when it comes to Tevin Jenkins because it's every year situation. I don't care what the injury is. It's news. Until he can prove that he can stay healthy, it's going to be news. Nate Davis has been relatively healthy. I don't know what's going on with him, but the hope is that once the season starts, he'll be in form. I don't know if it's just a stamina thing because he, tweaking because he's just not where he needs to be in peak physical shape because he wasn't at mandatory minicamp. Voluntary mini camps. He did show up to mandatory. But I mentioned it earlier when I talked about Darnell Wright. I just want Justin Fields to have enough time where I feel like we can properly evaluate him and confirm that he is the guy I think he can be, or proves me wrong and Packer fans right.
So I just want to say one more thing and get your take on it. Sometimes offensive line, you might want to look at, hey, this guy is a number 10 pick. This guy has, was a first rounder or a big time free agent signing. Even though a guy like Braxton Jones is a fifth rounder and seems to have solidified himself. But more often what I feel about offensive line is if you can get the same five guys playing consistently together, the collection of the pieces is what it's about. And so it worries me that early on in camp, you aren't getting the consistency of like, these are our starting five. How big of a deal is that? Especially when you bring in a guy like Davis, who is a veteran and maybe can miss a few reps in early August and be just fine. But how does that impact Darnell Wright?
Right.
How does that impact?
Who's playing right next
exactly.
to him? Yeah.
So what is your take on that?
No, I completely agree. I mean, right now you got Jatir Carter out there as your, starting right guard, and Alex Leatherwood is your starting left guard when Tevin Jenkins wasn't in, which, by the way, Leatherwood actually, from what I've read, has been playing okay. Makes me think he is going to make the final roster. But
that's a first-round pedigree, too.
Yeah, exactly. I just think, like you said, a lot of it comes down to consistency. And it's going to start at the center position, which we just already addressed. That could be a big issue. And it works its way out. Braxton Jones coming into a second year, I think will help on that right or that left side. So as long as he can be the guy they want him to be, I don't know. It's a work in progress. We got to see what happens during games. I think that's going to be a big difference. We got the joint practices coming up against the Colts. We got Tennessee this weekend, so just have to see how it goes.
Yep. All right.
Last one, real quick. We started the show with talk about running backs and how Chicago needs to get another running back. Well, there's another running back who is potentially available. Jonathan Taylor and Colts owner Jim Irsay keep battling about a contract extension. Ryan Poles should be calling to make a trade for the top 5 running back.
So as soon...
Wait, let me...
go ahead.
We are not saying this, by the way. This was not our declaration. So don't yell at us. Unless we decide that it's news. Then you can yell at us.
As soon as we even heard this, I read it or whatever, I texted you and
was
said,
it on my list?
Here we go again. So to me, this is noise. We called that one right away. First, it was Dalvin Cook. Then it was Josh Jacobs. Then it was Jonathan Taylor. I'm picturing that Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other. Like, which one of you is going to the Bears? Now I understand maybe lazily these national reporters are doing this because the Bears have money. They have draft capital. But why would Ryan Poles be the GM that wants to lock these guys into a long-term deal when everyone else is saying it's not worth it? He doesn't seem like that type.
And you're trading draft capital for it at the time.
And you're trading draft capital.
For a position that's getting all like a horrible, representation in the league right now.
And that I feel they've addressed in a way they feel comfortable. Correct. Now, that all being said, Jonathan Taylor is 24 years old. Jacobs was 25. Cook's a little older and has some more injuries.
Yeah.
And these guys are both complete backs. I'm talking about Taylor and Jacobs. So if, I've been hearing second round pick, I don't want to do that because you have to trade a second round pick and then give him a deal that he's happy with to make it worth it. Okay. However, if you could get him for like a fourth and Khalil Herbert and sign him to a deal that's both player friendly and team friendly, then maybe. but that's never how it's being brought up. So to me, it's noise, but
That sounds like something we could do on our Madden franchises.
exactly. I don't know, man. It's a tough thing. But like when you look at the position overall and how it's being valued across the league, I think Poles is happy where he's sitting with the guys he has at the contracts he has. I know they're not quite at their floor yet, I think, for spending, but I don't think that's the way you get to it.
Yeah, they're close enough to their floor. I'm not worried about that. The addition of Yannick, Ngakoue, and Mercedes Lewis puts them basically there.
And the offensive lineman to be named later.
Probably. They get to claim guys off of waivers. They're the first waiver priority, so they get to use it correctly. I mean, Ryan Poles, if he thinks the guy's better than the lowest guy on the roster, you claim him, add him to the roster, you cut the other guy loose. I mean, that's just unfortunately how it is in the business. And I don't know. I'm excited to see where this team goes, but I don't think adding a running back is going to make the difference. If for some reason, he's under contract, it's not like a franchise tag situation. So if for some reason, this becomes noise for the Colts and he plays, but there's still issues going on and you're at like the trade deadline and Chicago's, in more than the hunt and a running back might put them over the top, then maybe it's worth it. But right now, why? Like, it just makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense.
I don't get it. And when we've been hearing it, at least the times I've been exposed to it, it's more coming from like national media.
Oh,
so I don't know if that's why they're doing it, just to get a big market like Chicago into the story. But
if it's that easy to be a national NFL analyst, can I just please get a job? Bristol, Connecticut is not that far away. Like, I'm willing to commute. My wife and kids will understand. I'll cover the NFL.
They're making it seem easy with storylines like that.
Right? Left and right.
Colin
Coward.
Not to mention, like, Cook is still out there.
Yes.
Like, it's not like someone beat the Bears to the punch.
Right.
And that was like before he was even released. It was, maybe they should trade for him. Nah, he gets cut loose and no one scoops him up.
I mean, everyone thought Miami, and it's still that.
I'm hearing Patriots.
Yeah, somebody's going to pick him up eventually. But.
Yeah, it's sad, the running back position. And I hope you alluded to it a couple episodes back. I hope it doesn't just go away. I mean,
right.
It's part of football. It's part of the game. So
a lot of guys now say that they would have played different positions had they known it would be this way. So if you have a kid who's in football and they're a running back, maybe now is the time to transition them to a different position. Or you just accept the fact that you're never going to make more than $12 million in a year.
Or be a running quarterback.
Yeah.
And then everyone will say you're a running back.
That's right. And you might not be able to walk in like 5 years after you're out of the league.
Yeah.
But. All right, this went a little bit longer than I thought it would, but I think this episode is done. Thank you for tuning in to episode 52. Remember to hit the like button. Make sure to comment. We love the comments. I don't say it enough on these last few episodes, and I haven't seen enough comments. So please make sure you comment. Hit the subscribe button. We need to get to 750. I just looked. We're at 437. But it's ticking up. As soon as the season starts, I think we're going to see a huge jump. And that's it.
Tell your grandma,
your grandpa,
your sister, your
neighbor,
your cousin, your neighbor.
If you have a 13-year-old kid, make them subscribe because, who cares? Maybe they win the jersey and then you get to pick the size and you take it.
There you go. All right.
Bear down.